Yo, what's good, everybody? In this video, I'm going to break down split attack side and kind of give you guys another Premier guide similar to the one that I did on Bind. I'm going to break this into two parts, so I'll do one for defense and one for attack. And yeah, we're just going to kind of get into it and just run with it, right? So I recommend that on split, you guys run this comp. Now you can do some double duelist, no cipher if you want. But really, I think the Cypher is very, very strong on this map, especially if people don't have like the ability to nade the trips. Like if they don't know the nade lineup for the A trips that gets everything, it can your Cypher can get a lot of value, and it allows you to stack 4-1 and play retake on either site. So this is the comp that I recommend. Before I get started yapping about the comp, I do want to say that I have a split macro video out available. So if you haven't seen that, maybe go take a look at that if you just want a quick refresher on my thoughts on the macro and things to consider. I mentioned B main. I talk about the strength of taking control of B main on attack and defense, the importance of gaining mid control so you can push, pull, pivot, and then also getting across ramp and how important that is, especially if you can get the enemy team to nest two players defensively on site. It opens up a lot of the map and causes people to over rotate. And really, that's the name of the game on this map. It's you know, split. You want to split the enemy defense away from each other. You want to get them to over rotate so that you can do mid splits through B heaven and B main, and then do A splits through vents and A main. So let's talk about this comp, and I'm just going to start with a couple defaults that I think you guys should run, okay? Now, with the Cypher Viper, I like running this Viper wall here and the Viper orb here. If you want, these are going to be in my Viper guide on split, so go ahead and take a look at that. I'm not going to go in game for this video. I'm just going to talk on Valoplant here. Hopefully you guys are okay with that. I would do this combination for your Viper, and your Viper player is responsible for being outside of B. Generally, I want Viper to molly B main at the start of the round, so you can throw the wall, throw the molly, get to your lineup spot, and then throw the orb in that order. I want my Cypher player over towards A. And really, Cypher's job is to do a couple different things. You can put the cam that spots the close here. Spots this and gets like all of this line. Really, what this does is it shows you if somebody is playing close, but also sometimes you can spot somebody with an op here. Sometimes you can see Cypher running around. Sometimes you can see, the Sky player up here or Raze. Gives you info on the map that really helps you IGL properly and put you in the right positions to mid-round, okay? Generally, Cypher is going to be here. And again, guys, I don't have a Cypher guide on this map, but something that is really common on Cypher is double caging the cross. And what I recommend for your Cypher player is to also trip right here behind the wall, just in case you get pushed, okay? So start of round, I want to see this cam. If you're not throwing this cam, I like that there's a cam up here that can see the crack. It's like a little crack here, so you can see if somebody peeks heaven. It also sees, or peeks ramp, also sees the heaven. Or if you want, you can put a little bit of a more passive cam, either here or here, that will kind of get info on people peeking ramp, okay? So these are your extremity players, and they're very important to the default. Their goal is to just establish control of an area, threaten the lurk on both sides, but then also understand that later on in the round, once our team has established mid control on this default, that they are going to be in position to potentially get a one-on-one or get a lurk timing on the extremity as we go through and do a push-pull pivot up in mid, okay? And I'll break that down once I talk about the mid people. But generally, we have lurk pressure on B with the wall and the orb popped together. We have lurk pressure on A with the cages being popped. And make sure, guys, we're switching up the timing in which we're caging. Sometimes I want you to do it at the beginning of the round. Sometimes I want you to throw the cages and walk around, go back to T-spawn and double lurk B, and then pop both of them once you get over to B. Sometimes I want you to throw them and not pop them at all, or pop one of them and then, you know, you can even double cage this one and fight ramp, you know, or you can double cage this one and fight lower. I want you to switch it up over here, but really understand that your main job is to threaten the lurk on different timings. It's a lot harder for Cypher to do this. Viper can just continuously throughout the round wall up, orb down, wall up, orb up, wall down, whatever, right? So it's a little bit harder with Cypher, but really understand that both of the roles here, these are extremity roles, and it's all about controlling this with this molly. It's all about controlling this with the cams and the cages over here. And then our 3 stack in mid is going to be working mid. All right. So now that I have this up, this is the start around util over here. Now, again, I recommend doing this cam because it tells you a lot about the setup. You can see, sometimes you can see 1, 2 players at the start of the round. You can see a raise in a sky. If you see the raise in the sky here, that means there's probably a good chance that Cypher is over at B. Okay, so your Cypher player needs to be good at reading the info that they see off the cam and then making a call so that the IGL can make a reactive call. Okay, then I recommend Sky, raise. I actually like Sky on this side a little bit more, guys, as opposed to doing all 3 on this side. I think being able to go from either side of mid is important. Sky over here is good because then Sky can come back A and dog across ramp if we need additional info after we've taken mid control. But yeah, generally this is how I want you guys to start the rounds. And you have 2 options on this default. You can either smoke vent or you can smoke mail. Both are good. And all we're going to do is, this is what we're going to do, okay? We're going to sky flash the opposite of what we smoked, okay? So if we smoke mail, we're sky flashing vents. If we smoke vent, we're sky flashing mail, okay? And really what we're doing here is we're trying to get the info. If the sky flash pings nothing, I want you guys to take mid a little bit more aggressively. If the sky flash pings something, I want you guys to take mid cautiously. But really understand that your goal is not to necessarily have kill potential behind this flash. It's to threaten the fact that you're in mid so that you start baiting out util in mid, okay? And this is the importance, this is really the important thing in mid, guys. We need to bait out util in mid. That's the goal of the default. We bait out util in mid so that we can take it later, and then we can, you know, push up B heaven to pull rotations from A and then pivot into A while our Cypher lurks out A. Does that make sense? So that's the whole push, pull, pivot idea, okay? But we got to think about, what are we running into in mid here? Generally, we're running into a Viper, we're running into a Raze, whatever. Like, these are very annoying agents with solid util, especially if they have mollies and they have their nade at the end of the round. It makes it really hard for us to come out main heavy or come out A with conviction. So we need to understand that this 3x pack here, our job is not to just necessarily send it through the Viper Orb and fight. Can we make footsteps here? Can I use my Roomba to see if I can bait out the Raze nade from the enemy? Can I use my Sky Flash to try to bait out, you know, a Viper Molly? Can I fake an Omen TP to here to see if there's a reaction from the enemy team? You know, all of these things are important. And if you realize that you're not getting any counter util, you want to basically, you want to use some of your util to get them to pop the Viper Orb and ideally get them to Viper Molly so that when the Viper Orb goes down, you can take a little bit more aggressive space by either, you know, coming here and dogging up B heaven, right? Pushing this player back. And then once we've got control of mail or vents, depending on what we smoke at the start of the round, we now have the ability to push, pull, pivot, okay? Now, I know I briefly talked about this just now. I'm gonna elaborate on it a little bit. If you want more info about it, go watch my split macro guide. I talk about it in depth there. But generally, the concept is we want control of... Oops. Let me just remove this guy and this guy. In mid, our goal is to bait out utility, to get them to pop the Viper Orb, to get rid of the Raze nade, to get rid of the Viper Mollies, so that we can get control of mail and vent, so that 1 to 2 of the players can push one of these and make pressure, right? So let's just use B heaven as an example. We get mid control, and we want to push, pull, pivot in mid. We want to pressure B heaven, so we want to push B heaven. And when I say push, I don't mean like hit the site. We're just pressuring, okay? So we're not really going past this line. We want to push B heaven to force their raise into this spot or Viper, right? So that they lose info. These are not really good spots to play off of. They lose info. If you get pushed into Z, you probably usually go back spawn. If you get pushed rafter, you're generally not repeaking this because it's a little bit dangerous, right? And when you get pushed back into these spots as a defender, we know on the attack side that generally someone is going to come and rotate to assist, okay? Or there's going to be a reaction to push B main from the defense, right? And in that case, our Viper's sitting there ready for the repush. Or maybe our Cypher has come back over, so we have 2 people ready to go, and now we're getting ready to B-split potentially, right? But on the example where we're push-pull pivoting, and if we want to push-pull pivot up B heaven, that means we're ending A, okay? So if we want to push B heaven, we're going to pivot into going A, right? So we take mid control, we get up, raises up in heaven, you know, we omen smoke Z, standard stuff. We make it look like it's a B split. Our raise nades, you know, off the wall here behind the box. We put some pressure, maybe we put some spam shots through the wall that get the little off angle here, right? And then we quickly pivot into hitting through vents because now we've established vents control earlier. We go quick through vents and we go for an A split. Now our Viper player might be pressuring B while we do this B heaven stuff to really sell the fact that we're doing a B heaven split or a B split. But there's also a chance that the Viper left and has just popped her gas up and down. And then Viper's regrouped with Cypher A. And now Cypher and Viper are walking up A together, going for a timing as we go up vents. So maybe they run across and clear ramp for us so we don't have to worry about this. And now we're just fighting this. And now we're splitting onto the site through main and through heaven. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, guys. Now, so this is the basic default that I want you guys to do, right? So just to go over it again, we've got Viper over at B, throw the Viper wall, get in position to throw the Viper molly, get back in position to throw the Viper orb now, okay? Your Omen can start with you. Sometimes Omen can TP here if we want, or fake a TP. All of that stuff is good. Over at A, we're throwing this cam, we're tripping, and then we're throwing our cages. And then we're just selling that we're lurking over at A, okay? On B, we're doing the same thing. We're getting B main control with this molly because we know B main is important. And then we're going to eventually take B main control. Once we've got B main control, Omen's going to go back and assist the raise in the sky in mid. Omen is going to then smoke either mail here or vent. Whichever one he smokes, the sky is going to flash the opposite. And we're going to bait util in mid, okay? Now, around 1 minute in the round with this default, I want us to come to some agreement on what we want to do, okay? So on this default, we don't need to have an ending destination. Our default is to bait out util in mid and then to push, pull, pivot, or regroup to one of the mains, okay? Now, the reason why I say you don't need to push, pull, pivot is especially if we do a good job baiting out the raise nade and the Viper mollies, going out B main is relatively easy because the one thing that screws us in B main is a raise nade right here or a Viper molly right here, okay? So once you guys have baited out these mollies in mid, I want you guys to decide whether or not you're going to do some type of push, pull, pivot up in mid, you know, pushing B heaven and then pivoting back to A with an A lurk or people coming out A. Or if we want to just regroup towards B main or regroup towards A main now and understand that hitting the sites now will be a lot easier for us. Post plant will be a lot easier for us because we don't have to deal with Viper mollies and raise nade on A site or on B site in post. Okay, so this is default number 1 that I want you guys to run. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down in the chat. Or in the, not in the chat, but you can join my Discord and yap about it in there, or you can go ahead and drop them down in the comments. I'll do my best to respond. Default number 2, okay? Basically the same idea here. Now you can swap the Cypher. So for the sake of this, really you can swap Cypher and Viper to either side. For the sake of the video though, I'm gonna move Viper over to ramp. Over towards A. And again, guys, if you want all of these lineups for the orb and all that stuff, go watch my Viper video. Cypher will be B here. And Cypher's job is going to be to just cam B main. You can do it here. You can do it here. Generally here is a little bit better because sometimes omens will TP here and you can get info on whether or not they do it. And then Cypher's really going to just like kind of trip B main somehow, you know, just trip here at the start of the round and then can go back and like work mid or whatever. Now Viper's going to be throwing the util here, but then our goal in the strat is going to be to get across a ramp. Okay. Now, what I want is I want Omen in sewer. I want Cypher in outside B camming and putting the trip here. I want Raze and Sky. And I want these three agents, their job is to get control of A heaven. Okay. So what I want at the start of the round is I want my Sky to flash right here, right? I want my wall up, and I want my Sky flash right here, okay? Now, I want you guys sometimes to feel like Raze is going to satchel here. You can double satchel, you can single satchel. That's totally up to you. When we do this, I also want Viper to throw a molly here, okay? So you can sometimes avoid throwing this orb, okay, guys? If we want, we can throw it a little bit later. So wall and then molly close, just so they don't disrespect the... And again, this is the same thing as B main. It's just control, okay? It's just control. And we molly this, we sky flash this for info, okay? This sky flash is very important, okay? For a couple reasons. One, the sky flash will tell our omen on a round where Raze satchels across if he should omen blind or not. If the sky flash does not ping anything, the omen saves the blind. If the sky flash pings something, the omen will blind. I think this is the best way to blind, in my opinion. Generally, people will not like dodge flashes in this corner, and usually what they'll do is they'll try to dodge the sky flash by sitting behind the box. So sometimes it's important to, like, even if your Raze is like, even if the sky flash doesn't ping, sometimes you should blind it if your Raze is satcheling. It's you know, up to you. But generally, if the sky flash pings, you always flash it. And really what I want here is I want the Raze going across, and I want the sky to flash, and then I want us to get up and take ramps control, okay? When we take ramps control here, I want Viper up here, I want Raze, and I want Sky, okay? Now, Sky will kind of be responsible for looking behind, or Viper will be responsible for looking behind, and either one of those. And Raze's primary focus is going to be in front of her in A heaven, okay? When we get A ramps control, I want you guys to understand what this does to the enemy team, okay? It's going to cause them to do two things. They're either going to try to grab info by sky flashing or dogging or trying to refight against you. Or the other option is that they're going to go and fall back into more passive spots like this, even potentially 2 on site or 1 on rafter and 1 site. And then this is what we want, guys. This is the same idea over here as B heaven, with pushing people back into Z and onto rafter. We're pushing them back because now they lose sight lines, right? And when we get control of this, and we also have control of this, what do we have the option to do? We can A-split. Now, A-splits are really strong on this map, but also we're doing a good job of generally of baiting out the Sky utility. And when the Sky has no more info left in the round, like if the Sky uses their util at the start of round, it will cause the Sky to panic a lot of the time and call for over rotations, okay? And that's what we want, okay? Now I want to talk about things that we can do from A ramp, okay? We can wall up, right? We can wall up and Cypher can come here and Omen can come here now, and we can go and we can wall up and we can go vent over to B heaven, okay? And leave Viper in a spot like this, which is very strong, and then Sky and Raze will go through B heaven. Now we're reverse clearing mid with the intent of getting a kill, right? Like if somebody's in the vent, and usually we'd use our dog for this to get down in the vent to help us. Other things we can do is if we don't use our omen blind, sometimes we can omen blind vent from in sewer. Make sure you guys pull out a smoke so you can see the altitude change. So you make sure you hit if you see the altitude, you can see where vent is, you can see where you should flash. And you can flash this, and then we can kind of reverse clear mid. And a lot of times you can get a kill doing this. It puts a lot of pressure. It puts a lot of pressure on these guys. On these guys, it will cause rotations, and then we go vents over to B heaven, and we go for a B split. Okay, and we can leave Viper as a lurker and hit A heaven, as I mentioned earlier. And now Viper is in a spot where they can hear the rotations back, and once they hear the rotations back, that creates a lurk timing for Viper, and it allows you guys to come back through vents and then go back to A. Hopefully that makes sense. But these are the two main defaults that I want you guys doing on this map. And just play around with these. See what you can do. There's also ways where you can fake these defaults, right? We do Raze outside B with Cypher. We do Viper A with Sky. Sky flashes ramp. Omen saves the blind, right? Viper goes like this. And then, you know, Sky comes here and goes for a dog through sight, trying to grab info while we all regroup towards B, like mid and B. And then we go for some type of B heaven split, right? With Sky solo misdirecting. So that's one option. We can also do like full A execs behind the Viper wall. You guys can contact up as 4, right? Sky flash. You know, Sky makes some noise in the sewer running away, and then we contact up through the Viper orb as 3. Now we silently get control of here. Sky comes here and dogs up mid, right? Cypher goes with the dog maybe. Things like this can be really good. And then we insert Cypher as a lurk, maybe in mid, or leave him behind the bot, like in here in the pit or whatever. Things like this can be very strong. So play around with this idea, but generally these are the two defaults that I want you guys to run with. And again, it's a 1-3-1, and then also a 1-1-3. Okay, so that's really what I want. Okay. One thing that I'll mention about this 1-1-3, I still think it's important that we use one smoke unless we're going for a fast exec. Use one smoke in mid just to threaten. You might make a couple footsteps here. It might bait out a Viper molly, get the Viper to use gas, so then they can't use the wall on A for as long. It's all very important stuff, guys. And really the goal here, the goal on the default for the 1-3-1 is to bait out utility in mid. The goal of the 1-1-3 is to get across a ramp to push the enemy team into a site where they have to play more passively, where they have no info. This will cause people to over-rotate, and then we can reverse clear mid through vents and then go for B heaven splits. We can set up lurks. We can condition stuff getting behind our Viper wall and popping, okay? That is pretty much what I want you guys to focus on for split attack. Now I'm going to go ahead and talk about post plant really quick, and that'll be the end of the video, okay? Post plant on A, all right? I want no more than 3 people on site, okay? It's okay for us to take site with more than 3 people, but as soon as that happens, I want us to come back and I want us to prioritize getting ramp control, okay? It is super, super strong to rewrap ramp in post plant because we can sometimes plant here. We can plant here if we want to avoid the spam. We can also plant here, which is very strong. We can get to heaven and play the bomb like this. We can also play the bomb like that if we want to plant a little bit deeper into the corner. But that's the number one rule. Don't have 5 people on a site because it's really easy for the enemy team to throw a nade like this, an omen blind like this, you know, a Viper molly like this, and we're screwed, you know. So don't get all these guys on site. Make sure we're only having 2 to 3. Ideally, I like 2 a little bit better. Ideally 2 to 3, with either 2 people, 1 person here, 1 person here, 1 person here, 1 person here, maybe 2 like this. This is ideal for me. I like this a lot. This X can also be here, and then kind of like get in as people are flooding out, right? Because this is going to be smoked off a lot of the time, and that's really what I want. Only put 2 to 3 people on A site and post plant. Make sure we're having some type of control over ramp, right? Or we're at least intending to kind of rewrap ramp. Default plant spots that I want, again, are going to be here, You can plant here. Anywhere against this wall is good because this line, because you can play it from heaven. If we can't get those plants because we're not safe, I want you guys to be planting like here, okay, like right there, okay. And yeah, that's pretty much it for post plant. If you feel like you need to get picks, another option that you can do if you have too many people on site, make sure we push screens, okay? We need to make sure that we have either screens or a heaven in post plant, okay? We can't sit everybody on site, okay? Okay, B post plant, all right? Primary plant spot. I want us planting here if we can. If we can't get that plant, we just plant safe, okay? Not the end of the world. If we plant safe, we can't play too many people in main. If we need to play people here, 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 and then maybe one like kind of closer in hell, or either under the double stack or here, okay? These are the good spots. Don't be afraid to play on the bomb too. Playing on the bomb and tucking can be very, very strong. People are not really ready for it. They're generally ready for places like this and this. This is where you're gonna get heavy utiled for the most part, but playing on bomb, usually you're pretty safe a good amount of the time. I like playing here. If we can get our Omen Rafter, that's also very strong. Or getting somebody in hell can be very strong as well, okay? Generally, I want you guys to plant here. And the same thing applies here. I don't want too many people on site. I don't, you know, it can be really strong to high-low this, but if you get 3 guys in this back corner and a good Raise Nade comes through, a good Omen Blight comes through, you can be screwed. If we get 1 to 2 or 3 people clumped up on this pillar and a good Raise Nade comes through, we are screwed, right? It's really important in the post that we keep heaven re-smoked, continuously re-smoke heaven. And I want, when this is smoked, I want you guys to be fighting with it, okay? Right? So ideal post plant positions, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. Somewhere around here is good, okay? If we have 5 alive. Don't be afraid to trade this spot for this, and this spot for this, okay? Or even this, okay? And also, if we get a good plant here, do not be afraid to re-wrap mid, okay? If we feel like we need picks, if we're down numbers, do not be afraid to push spawn and go for picks, okay? Really try to read the round. If they have heavy ults, they have better ults than you. If we've used a shit ton of our util and they have all of their util, right? Maybe we need to push spawn. We need to get scrappy, right? If we have a good plant B main, guess what? We can play 2 guys here. 2, even 3 sometimes, okay? Make sure we're pinging the bomb. Make sure when you guys plant the bomb, you look to the left. So you look this way as the spike is being planted so that it pushes the spike out a little bit further. That really helps our post plant. And when you guys make sure in post plant, if you're playing B main, ping the middle of the spike. If there's 2 of you in B main, call which person is going to be shooting on the left of the ping, which one's going to be shooting on the right of the ping, and then make sure you start by shooting left and right, and then transition to shooting the middle, okay? So start shooting on the outside, and then transition your way into the middle. Generally, this has the most success because I think people are less likely to stick exactly on the ping, and you're able to force them off before they get half a lot of the time if you do this. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have questions, drop them down in the comments below. Join the Discord, ask questions in the chat, or join my Twitch streams and ask me questions there. I am going to be streaming a lot more. I've been doing watch parties. I've been playing ranked. I'm getting closer to Radiant. I think I'm 420 RR or something, 420 Blaze It. So things are looking good. I appreciate you guys stopping by. If you haven't stopped by already, I would really, really appreciate you guys stopping by, saying hi, letting me know what agents you play. It also gives you guys a really good opportunity to ask me questions without booking a session with me. So don't take that for granted. I do my best to respond to chat as much as I can. And yeah, thanks so much for the support. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.